what you sent last night, right?
I'm getting romantic. I'm getting all sad right now. Sorry.
Yeah, because I got that. He sent that last night.
Yeah, the minutes.
Rob is here.
About the agenda.
Oh, that's right, he didn't send it with
Elliot's
it.
here. I'm not 26.
There's 6 of us.
Oh, there are forms.
Yeah. These double headers are tough.
My OCD is saying balance.
What did you say?
I'm saying, why am I counting 6 on the checks? And that was what it was.
We couldn't figure out who the 6th person was.
Yeah, just
Forgot to count himself.
had to look.
He's only the chair. He has to be here.
That just goes to show that your faith in me is maybe misplaced. But that's all right. Item 2. I'm going to follow yesterday's agenda because I don't think there's that much change, right?
It is identical other than the minutes that I circulated last night are on the agenda for approval tonight if folks are so inclined.
See if everybody paid attention. I did read them. I thought you did an excellent job summarizing the discussions. All right, general administrative items and updates.
We still keep the meeting on the books for the next 2 Tuesdays?
Yes.
Okay. And do you remember where next week is?
Both at the library.
Both are at the library. Okay,
Yeah.
excellent.
So what are the 2 dates, the next
November
2?
25th and December 2nd.
Second.
And both at the library.
Thank you.
Those are the regular meetings, even though it's on the extended schedule. Okay. We'll have a bunch of minutes first then.
All right. I don't think there's any other things. Oh, I did invite, yesterday when I saw him, I invited the administrator to join us, so he may be here. I thought he might have some insight that would
Nancy,
be
what are
worth
the 2 dates?
having.
Patrick?
November
Yeah.
26th and December 2nd.
November 25th,
Item 3,
26th
approval of the
is,
minutes from November.
is a Wednesday, and I have-
November 17th.
The minutes be approved.
it's gonna be in the library.
Nancy.
Because when
and
I put it
Diane.
down, it has.
I'm sorry, because we really can't
Excuse
hear
me,
you
yeah.
over here.
Why
We
don't you
may
come
need to
here?
push
Put
these
chairs here.
closer.
Put
Yeah.
chairs. Nancy, why don't you just sit here?
Oh, then we'll be on top of each other.
I don't wanna be on.
I did.
Oh, okay, I don't care.
No, I mean, we're
Second.
closer to.
All right, so
I'm
what
sorry,
we're
so
doing
what were
is-
the meetings?
Yeah, Rob, can we have the
November
meetings again?
25th.
Tuesday, November 25th and Tuesday, December 2nd, both at the library.
At the library? All right.
Those are regular meetings, but on our extended full-term schedule. I believe yesterday was a special meeting, and I believe we had one other special meeting.
And the
There isn't
second,
any
right?
meaningful distinction between the two, but
And Mike, you're aware I won't be there
Okay,
next
so
Tuesday.
I move that the minutes be approved.
close to the-
And somebody
Oh,
seconded
yeah,
it.
have to
you-
run.
You've got
I said you did cooking turkeys.
You have duty.
No.
Okay,
Wait,
so
wait
we
a minute, I
had
get
a
double
motion
check
to
because
approve the
you know what?
minutes and a
Minutes of-
second from Diane. All in favor of yesterday's minutes entered into the record? All in favor, unanimous, thank you.
thank you.
Just to go back a little bit, I might be like Nancy and not be here on the 25th because the family's coming in.
I'm flying in also, so if there's a delay, I may be late, but
Right.
I'm trying.
We will, as we get closer, I'll
Yeah.
seek a head count. I don't want to waste anybody's time if we're not.
We can always do Thursday at Mike's house.
Yeah!
Necessary.
You absolutely, I won't be there. So I can hit the alarm code to get you in. All right. Item 4.
I promise not to interrupt anymore.
Acknowledgement, potential discussion of received and potential new proposed charter changes, including public input. And while we haven't seen anything, there is the potential that we're going to get some input from the Harbor Commission. They have expressed an interest in looking over their section of the charter
Uh-oh, we're in trouble.
Uh-oh.
Stop that.
The boss is here.
And they were gonna bring it up, their chair was gonna bring it up at their next meeting to discuss whatever they felt they needed. They don't have any details. We don't
Can I
have
ask a
any.
question?
I'm sorry, I missed the first part, I was paying attention to.
So the Harbor Commission has expressed an
Oh,
interest
Harbor
of
Commission.
reviewing
Okay.
their section of the charter.
We had reached out to them previously.
Just in time, huh?
But they were they were getting ready
Out
to
in the middle of the
begin
harbor.
changes to their
That's right.
harbor management plan, or developing their harbor management plan. And they were supposed to contact us when they were
Okay.
done. But luckily, I ran into Mike Gates. He's the co-chair last night, because they
Right.
also met here. And we exchanged information, and I sent him the section from the charter, and he was going to review it with his committee.
Okay.
All right. That brings us to item 5, unless there's anything further that I'm not aware of. Which is our general discussion, review and discussion of the existing charter and potential proposals. It's unfortunate that we don't have a full group here. We had a very good discussion last night with Jerry Dennis, President.
Larkin's
We did
gonna
have
be
some,
here, right?
there,
I would
I hope
assume.
so.
yeah.
It's his motion. Larkin's gonna be
Yeah.
here.
I didn't hear anything otherwise.
It's his
We
motion.
did have some, you know,
Sometimes they
con-
can't get the six,
Yeah.
con-
right?
I don't want to say controversy, we have two sides who are,
Yeah.
He had made a motion.
We were talking
Yes.
Kept it
through
alive. till
kept,
tonight,
yes, and I
so
think it's,
Yeah.
yes, it's,
I think he needs
it's,
to be here.
we're gonna have to discuss a lot about it.
Just give them a few minutes, I'm sure
Yeah.
they'll be here.
Well, in the interim, in the interest of,
We got a smiling man at the other end, so.
It's my shorts, I wear my shorts a little too tight, it helps me.
So who gave you the wedgie?
Are we on general discussion?
yes.
Okay. So aside from this, the issue on the budget, when we were going through a lot of this, I had written notes on what we thought was the updated charter before we got the other one. And there was a lot of things that we wanted to just do housekeeping phase. Can we do that in kind of just, as opposed to going through all this, just stating that there are certain sections that need just kind of housekeeping?
I think that we had talked about.
And just
we-
combine it into one, send it to them and let them do the housekeeping?
Right, we would basically, I'm sorry,
No, I was agreeing, yes, that's what we had.
yeah.
That's what we're gonna do, all these little,
Yeah,
you
so-
know, add this, take out this is 90 days, this is no
Right.
longer.
Yeah.
Yeah, the volunteer
All right, we're just
firefighters,
gonna-
that type of stuff.
Nancy, if you have time, could you give me a list of the housekeeping things that you have and,
I can, but I doubt I'll do it before Thanksgiving.
oh, that's
I haven't
okay.
got it. I'll try.
Okay, just because that way I can
Yeah,
start to.
it's just because I made the notes
see how we
right
can
on the,
bring it. Good.
Yeah.
Yeah, there were some typos and where we make changes, if changes are made to one section, we
Yeah.
want to alert the council that it also impacts a different section, so kind of that cross-checking that we're hoping that somebody will do as they're, putting the final draft together.
just as an example, if you go to section 803 under town administrator, we wanted to remove all written legal opinions furnished to the council, blah, blah, blah. And that was, I think, Mike's, Marcello's suggestion that the way that is worded was not quite right. So, because I have it all crossed off and written remove on the side, so somebody raised it. Different things like that. I don't know, I just marked them, so. I just want to make sure we don't miss some of that stuff, so that when the new charter is printed again, that's not the same incorrect verbiage somewhere. No heat money?
I'm sorry.
No money for heat in this?
I know, I I'm surprised.
Let me go check this, see if we can find out.
Don?
What do we,
Just-
Chili?
Heat.
Just going
It
to
is.
check the heat.
so you saw it on here? Diane?
I did, I had the search in the toolbar. Up top, right?
Yeah.
Patrick.
I just-
You got it?
It may not be in the senior center's budget.
I don't think so.
Have to get the seniors to start contributing.
Yeah, but you'd think it would be. Oh, no, it wasn't.
Now, you just sent that to us by
Online
email,
documents,
right?
did you
Yeah.
try
No, I
that?
didn't go there. Got that.
I don't know why I can't make it silent.
What did he say?
I should-
I had to actually use the search bar to get to online documents too. The new website looks good. It really does. Each time I go on there, I can see it's evolving.
It's a work in progress.
Yeah.
I did, I think under the planning department, because the planning department hadn't been updated in, unfortunately, in years. I cannot tell you how many calls I got about the biogas facility that is non-existent, but is going to be put into town. And it's like, we just, fortunately, Dave Robert, he's doing a great job doing that, so just take it off the website, so.
Yeah, I mentioned to Dave today, I don't know if he shared with you, that 2024's amended charter was not on the website.
He mentioned it to me this afternoon, so.
He's taking care of it, this is it, it's up there. And I was trying to pull it up, Nan, so we could look at what you were referring to. Remind me what section you were referencing? Was it 801?
Oh, I'm sorry, 803.
Town solicitor?
I mean, that's one that I just flipped to and I could see, I think it was Mike Marcello that told us that, because why would we? And it's under town solicitor.
Yeah.
Is it 803? Yeah. And it was, there's even more before it. But I will jot it down as
Okay, so
quickly
we'll
as I
summarize
can
what
to
those
you.
changes are, the edits, and
But it says where the solicitor shall attend, is that what's in the new one, or? Yeah, the solicitor, all legal, yeah, where it says all written legal opinions furnished to the town council,
Oh, I did, yeah, I remember that
administrative
discussion.
town offices,
Yeah.
departments, or agents shall be filed with the town clerk and become public record. Because I remember asking them, why not do that? We always have. But I think Ed said it had to do with some correspondence that shouldn't be available to all or
Mhm,
something.
And things in executive session.
Yeah.
So had to have the broad statement of all correspondence.
Yeah, and then it goes right from all written legal right up to shall be made available to town council just before the solicitors out
Yeah, we
examine.
said we
And
wanted
we
to remove
wanted
it.
all that removed, but I
Yeah.
think it was his recommendation.
I think
It
was.
isn't something we came up with.
Yeah, because we said it can cause a problem. Yeah.
Yeah, it says
Wanted to
all
remove.
written legal opinions furnished to the council administrator, town officers, departments or agencies shall be filed with the town clerk and become public record.
Yep.
I just
So,
really want to say non-privileged. It's
that's a good suggestion.
really the good issue is just attorney-client privilege. Or, in addition, there's a separate document called attorney-client,
Yeah.
attorney work product that's also privileged.
And there was like stuff in the Arts Commission and under general qualifications, we wanted that moved to the beginning. The enterprise zone was part of it. Then we had school committee, copies of the school committee meetings shall be on file in the office of town clerk. I think they did send us copies of their minutes.
We had a discussion with Jerry Larkin about that too.
Yeah.
And I don't remember what.
This is just general stuff that I
I
just,
think we talked about it, I think it's on the document that Mike had up earlier, when we went over the school department section. We were all in agreement that since it is posted on the state secretary's website, that it doesn't also need to be sent separately to the town to be posted.
Right.
and then that recall, we haven't readdressed that. The idea of the recall having a set number of days, that we said 3 months before or after to not allow a recall or something, and then to only allow no more than 3 months to get this. So all these recall petitions that are just left in limbo, they need an end date and move on. Because there's still recall petitions out on people that aren't even elected anymore. So that one might want to be,
It's Jerry.
What section was that?
Here it
that's
is.
section
The
1209.
movie,
Doctor.
the mover.
Hey, Jerry.
Mike, that makes 7.
Legislative
Thank
body.
you, really.
You're welcome.
I don't want to do that.
We even had some under the amendments to the charter section.
Can't chase you around anymore, you know.
We wanted parts of that
It's
removed.
much easier to catch me though now.
What part, Nancy?
I can't run anymore.
Under section 1205B, review the charter and recommend for approval and adoption amendments or revisions in a manner provided by the state constitution. Then we said section 8 was part of the legislative body. So I will just jot down, it'll just be jotted notes, but we can look at them or not.
Yeah, I think, you're right, to the extent that as there are edits
Yeah.
that are just, clarifying or.
Yeah, kind of housekeeping, but
grammatical.
recall is not housekeeping.
No,
I'd like to see that addressed.
yeah. We still have some time to get to that. So to run us back to last night's discussion, we didn't want to proceed, Jerry, because it had been your motion, and obviously we feel you're kind of important to that.
I just wrote my notes on, we were just saying.
So Diana took the liberty, and I'm grateful forever for her help, to put this together of the items that were relating to the budget into the document of the changes that we've been working on throughout this year. In the minutes that Rob submitted, we have the motion that was Jerry had put forward yesterday. I'll just run through this to give everybody a reminder. Jerry Larkin moved to propose that the Budget Committee assume the authority currently vested with the Town Council at arriving at a unified budget, and is also charged with financial analysis and forecasting for the town's financial position as a whole. Rob Colter seconded. Further discussion ensued, including topics of the Budget Committee working throughout the year, timing, whether to the Town Council and the School Committee can put forward options. So we kind of left it there as we were looking at how do we make this a functional proposal to submit to the council, and in what shape that's going to take. And Patrick, for your edification, as a group, it seemed we felt that the Budget Committee had been marginalized and has been, essentially rendered
It's
advisory.
Advisory only.
Yeah.
And as a
And-
result, muted, and no one wants to run.
Correct. And, I mean, we all live busy lives. So to run for election in an office that all you're doing is giving opinions about something that, with due respect, can be ignored, I get it.
Yeah. So the discussions included the comments that we know that the town council is busy. They've got a lot of things on their plate, whether it be contracts, whether it be the rest of the municipal side.
Land development seems to be at the top of the
Oh,
list.
So the thought process was that we felt that the budget committee has a role and could have a role that would take some of the burden off of the town council. We also had a conversation yesterday with Chris Haskins. And he had brought forward, which Diane Farnworth had previously, that the timing of the budget approval process creates a challenge for them with their notices in June 1st of layoffs.
Right,
So we're never finished by June 1st
correct.
lately. We used to be. And so I think as a group, and anybody feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, we felt that moving that timeline up would benefit us with, Denise had said that the town gets, the governor puts the budget out, State of the Union in January.
Correct.
In that is typically what the appropriations are gonna be for municipalities. They don't change often, she stated, so we've got a pretty good idea. Maybe the bigger challenge in all of that might be the revenue forecast. And when we pressed Denise a little bit on it, she thought that could still be worked and prepared. The discussion on the budget committee was started earlier in the year. The schools start their discussions in September on the budget and work it forward, and by January they have pretty much a working budget. Is that what the budget committee should look like in their role?
I definitely I know last year, coming into this role, I mean, I can't imagine, it's already been a year, so which is kind of crazy.
You blinked.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. But definitely this year, I want to sit down and start with the budget committee, which I've already had conversations with Scott Turner about starting it like as soon as we get past the holidays. That we need to at least meet, whether that's formal, but at least sharing information about revenue forecasting, current budgets, department head requests need to start coming in, so I can filter that information to them, because we started much too late. It was the spring and we were scrambling.
Yeah.
And when we're trying to busy people with a lot of meetings and trying to get stuff together. So knowing that, I agree, we need to start like right after, like the first of the year. They need to start meeting, or at least set up a schedule of meetings and get workshops ready. If they want to conduct the tours of municipal buildings, sit down with department heads, with the school department, that needs to start right away. That I agree with.
Do you think it's time enough after Christmas or even earlier, like after they get sworn in?
I would want to say that, I mean, knowing that it is it's always a busy time, but with the holidays, I mean, I'm trying to get reasonable expectations, knowing that I'm worried that we're barely going to be able to form a quorum with the current members that we do not have, and with the current members that are on the list. So I fear that with holidays, people take vacation, people are not around, and even, I mean, next week is Thanksgiving. We come back to work, it's December 1st. I mean, it's insane. So with that, thinking that we can kind of just block out those 30 to 45 days of between essentially Veterans Day and Christmas, or the end of or New Year's, to be more accurate. And then right after that first of the year, we can start getting to work, or at least forming a schedule for meetings. I wouldn't be objectionable in meeting with them, or at least starting sometime around this time, to say, let's start the schedule with all the OMA requirements that we have. So they actually have a schedule to meet, even if it's like January 3rd, we're hitting the ground, you know, and doing something along those lines. That wouldn't be a bad idea.
And I think that would be very helpful for any, especially new budget committee members.
Correct.
That get elected.
Yeah, they should have, I mean.
Is there a way
that's a great idea.
that you would be able to just set up a
Reach out to them, and we can post a meeting, so they, at the very least, they can introduce themselves to one another and have some formation of a plan moving forward to discuss
and know what
the
they have to.
26-27 budget.
All right, that would be really good.
So that's kind of an update on
Okay.
yesterday's discussion.
Can I add, I think I heard this correctly, that the sympathetic side for the town council was that they have so much work to do that they don't have the time necessarily to put in. But that's a reality too. And so I think the budget sort of gets shortchanged because of that. If somebody's just focusing on the budget issues and town council is focusing not on the budget, but on all the other stuff they do, I think it makes sense.
So that the budget committee would just concentrate on the budget of the town, the different departments in the town getting it, and they would do it how, I want the time period from January to, because the issue is with the school department, January to March, it all said and done, so that the school committee can say, you know, with their budget, say, okay, this is how much money we are going to need to run the school, so that come the end of the school year, if they have to lay people off and whatnot, they're pretty much set on how much money they have to spend for keeping teachers. Or,
I mean, they did it when we had financial town meetings in May.
yeah, that's
So
true.
I
by
don't
the time-
see why we need to go back to March.
No, I
Quite
was just
frankly, it's
using
March that the
example.
revenue figures come into the,
Correct.
it's always been March for revenue figures. So that's not a big deal to push back. We always have revenue figures, and if they come in higher, great, and if they
Yeah.
come in lower, well, suck it up. But I mean, the revenue figures are in by March, the state aid is pretty well settled. I know the treasurer gets that around January or so from the state. So the numbers they need are in. We always did this by the first Wednesday in May.
Yeah, that's what I,
Why do we need to push so far now?
So there's two, well, there's two really relevant sections to the whole charter that you need to then work back from. The first is 3B6 and the second is 3B7. And I have them up here. So the 3B6 is the budget committee. It says the budget committee shall prepare and submit to the town council their proposed unified budget and any proposed language necessary to implement the budget. That's all the ordinance stuff, on or before April 25th. So that right now is too late. It doesn't necessarily need to be in February or even in March, but it's too late because then that triggers what goes on in terms of the capacity for someone to submit an alternative budget, as well as when they have to hold the financial town hearing and then actually the financial town referendum. There's nothing that I could see in the charter that actually that says that they can't adopt a budget before June 30th, but that's kind of what's been going on in the 2 years. I think it's only been 2 cycles that we've actually had this budget
Yeah.
process. And so that put the school department at a real disadvantage. I think actually, did they squeak in? Maybe they did the first year, but it was like to the wire of getting to June 1st, because June 1st is again that date when you have to lay off teachers, or by statute, you can't lay them off. And then you have to make cuts elsewhere. The second is 3B7, and that's where it says the town council shall adopt a preliminary unified budget ordinance on or before May 13th. So that's, again, if they adopt it on May 13th, then that's what triggers the financial town hearing and the financial town referendum. And you're not going to get those things in before June 1st in most years unless you really sort of compress things. And I think even then you're probably going to violate the capacity for an alternative budget to go forward. But that, you can reshape all the other language, but those are the two really relevant sections that you would have to change in order to put the authority back with the budget committee as well as change the calendar. You can add other provisions of the calendar in as one sees fit in order to make sure that the budget committee is meeting before January, February, and March. It's you're already behind the 8 ball there. And it's, part of the reason why they've always done that is because another provision of the charter is that requirement there be this joint meeting between the town council, the school committee, and the budget committee. So they've never really started until they've had that meeting. But they actually should be starting beforehand. You start any new budget by your old budget. So you can be looking at what was the, what worked and what didn't work in the old budget. And again, in the state, it gets adopted June 30th. When do we start the new budget? July 1st. So, you can be doing some of the more preliminary work, including even meeting with the heads of departments, because
Absolutely.
again, for the school department, one of the things that also happens is that a lot of the transportation contracts and the healthcare don't get published until, or not published, published is a really kind word. You don't get screwed with the healthcare and transportation contracts until May and June. And so you actually have to solve those issues in the next budget year. You can't actually solve them in the year that you're actually impacted, which is another reason why the budgets are so screwy all the time. So,
Jerry, I have a question. The B6 timing for the budget committee to come up
Yep.
in the current charter. It's proposed unified budget by April 25.
yeah,
Were you able to ascertain when, under the old language,
go back and
what was
look
the
at it.
timing
Yeah.
after the first
It
proposed
was-
budget, when the town, the school committee or the
Right.
town could file
Um,
their own budget?
I don't remember what the exact dates were, but the final budget was generally, had to be adopted by the middle of April. And the reason for that was because then you had that amount of time where someone could propose an alternative budget, and you couldn't have the financial town hearing or the referendum until that time had elapsed. And it was like 14 days, I'm gonna say.
Something that's.
So in order to line up with, being able to allow for those alternative budgets to
be
be
processed.
submitted.
So 14 days from April 25th would be
So then you're into May.
May.
May
And
9th.
then you don't have time to schedule the financial town hearing, and then the referendum has to be a certain number of days after that. That's why I said, it's that adoption of what's gonna go on the ballot by whatever entity
And
adopts
working
it,
back.
that actually triggers everything else.
I thought,
So
I was
you're
thinking along the, sorry Nancy, I was thinking along the same lines today, and I did do like a draft timeline if we wanted to take a look at it. I sent it out earlier, Mike has it up here. And I know that, and this, again, this is all just draft because we're in the middle of a discussion, but I know that there were concerns about a petition or budget being after the fact and the impact of that. So I tried to embed that into the process, similar to what it was, that it had to be submitted before the unified budget was adopted, or preliminary approval to then go on the ballot.
Right, and just to even address that issue, you could sidestep all of that, and I think actually give the whole thing more meaning by allowing an override subsequent to the adoption of the final budget and the referendum. There's a risk there in that any override that would actually substantially reduce the school department's budget would put the department in that position of not having made layoffs up to June 1st, or
Right.
before June 1st. That may be, but I think that actually gives the whole idea of the, the petitioner's budget more substance, because the petitioner then can actually focus on what they and their supporters don't like or want to change. And it could
In
be.
the budget that is now in existence.
Right, exactly. So it's sort of saying,
It's
okay,
contained.
it went before the voters accepted it. There's a wrinkle there too. So the voters can't reject a budget right now. There has to be a budget that prevails in the referendum. And that was intentional, as far as I recall, because what they didn't want was for the town to not have a budget come June 30th, when they gotta have a budget, because it has to be balanced by law. So there is an issue there with, going to an override versus a petitioner's budget.
But on the other
Makes
hand,
the adoption, which, I have to say, I'm fine with that, because I think that the idea of the budget committee is that they should be doing their work, and the budget they come up with, is probably a lot more insightful than, most of us or most people who are gonna submit a petitioner's
and when you
budget.
think about it, actually, by the time, this, what we're talking about now, the process, you would have had two elected bodies deciding the budget. You would have
Right.
had actually three, I guess. 'Cause you
Three
would have
really,
had-
because the
you'd
school
have the
committee
town
voted, right.
council have a right to put their own in. You'd have the school committee could put their own in, all elected. And you would have the budget committee in the beginning, again, elected. So it's the representative of people who have created this.
Good, true enough, although remember that the capacity for the council or for the school committee to put in their own budget isn't in the charter now. It was taken out.
Correct, but we're
That's one of the
talking
four
about,
things
I
that-
think we would have to reinstate that.
Right, so again, that's, you'd have to sort of take up each of those issues sort of
Right.
separately. Do you have the authority to revert to the budget committee? Do you change the calendar? You could sort of do both of those, I think, in the same motion, but maybe not, actually. I think you probably want to have them both, I think you want to have them separate.
It's
Do
different
you-
articles anyway, yeah.
Huh?
Different articles anyway.
Yeah. Do you restore the authority, or the ability for the council or for the school committee to introduce their own budget?
Mhm.
And then, what was the fourth one? Four things that they did.
The override.
Oh, yeah, the petitioner's budget. So, do you leave the provisions for the petitioner's budget as they stand? Do you go, which is 500 signatures, I think?
Well,
How many
under
signatures?
this,
It's a much higher number. It was 50.
Right.
Right.
Now
It's
it's
never been used since.
No.
So again, that raises the question in my mind, like what problem are we trying to solve?
Yes.
Well,
There's no evidence of excess petitions, but on the override, it seems to me that if there was only one, like let's say the budget committee
Mm-hmm.
just adopted the budget and that was it,
Mm-hmm.
that suggests to me an override. But if you have the possibility of going before the voters with more than one budget, it doesn't make sense to me that you would then have a second bite at the apple from the voters to override what the voters just
Correct.
voted on.
Well, so that's, if you took away the petitioner's budget,
Right.
and that's, that was one of the things they were trying to solve for,
Mhm.
good or bad, was right now, if there is no petitioner's budget, there's no referendum, and then the unified budget the
Just
preliminary
sails
unified
through.
budget then gets adopted officially by the town council. If you framed it in a way that there's no longer a petitioner's budget, but instead there's an override, then you could also say that the budget that's adopted by the budget committee is the budget, and then the override has to be predicated on that.
Right.
You would then also
You kind of get to the same spot.
You get to the same spot, and you wouldn't have to have a town referendum. You could still have a town hearing, or, financial town hearing. You wouldn't necessarily have to have the town referendum. What you would then open up is the capacity for an elector to submit an override. And actually, you could probably, there's no reason why you would, I'm just kind of playing this out in my own head right at the moment. You could have numerous override petitions. You could sort of say one is, gonna address, you'd have to structure how you did the override so that it addresses a specific line item, I guess, or a set of line items, and people could vote it up or down.
Because what we really wrestled with a lot.
The conflict in that, I don't know how you
When we
resolve that.
designed, and Nancy was on the advisory committee for this, was we would get a lot of people saying, well, we don't want there to be a scenario where less than a majority vote adopts the budget. So this led to this idea of a runoff, which then also adds, I think, another 2, maybe more, 2 weeks to the process. So you raise a good point. If you have more than one override, then
It would be problematic if
Highest vote getter.
there were overrides that actually contradicted each
it
other.
would just be the highest vote getter then. That's how you resolve it.
That's true.
Mhm.
They'd all have to be submitted by a date certain.
Yeah.
This is highest vote getter. There might still need to be a minimum threshold for signatures or something or other, but.
And I guess the potential issue there is that, numerous overrides being submitted that are gonna confuse people. But I think if you made the signature threshold sufficient, you could probably at least squelch some of that.
So that's the way it
Only
is now,
300
that
signatures now.
question
300.
receiving the majority of
Only
votes.
300, have you ever tried to get 300 signatures?
But I would say, just going to empower the budget committee again is perhaps controversial. I don't know that I would even go further than that. I would just focus on that because there's no evidence. We just went from 50 signatures to 301.
Right.
Nobody's ever done it.
Yep.
It doesn't seem to be a pressing
Yeah,
issue.
I was intrigued by the
Yeah.
idea of override,
Yeah.
but, because I think it actually gives greater meaning to the idea that people are that you're trying to get at with the alternative budget
Mhm.
is, another opportunity for the voters to decide that they like something or not.
But it could be done within the process, not after. Correct? Like before, where there's a window of time.
Well, then it's really an alternative budget.
But part of our discussion was that we did not like the idea, or at least some of us didn't like the idea of petitioners coming up with budgets when they don't
No
have
due diligence.
the knowledge of the
Correct.
day-to-day operations of either the municipal side or the school side.
Yeah.
So whoever the power to be that comes up with this unified budget adopts that unified budget. I like the idea of maybe a budget, some entity, I like the finance committee, but whatever, works on it all year, comes up with a unified budget. If the public does not like it, they'll have to go through the process, same as they do in Portsmouth, and it's so rare that these overrides happen. But you would be overriding the entire budget, not a line item,
Right.
not somebody who specifically wants either the school or the fire department or the police department to get their pet project.
Yeah.
You would be overriding that budget, which would send a signal back to the finance end of this
But don't they have to give a
to
reason?
reconsider some of it. Maybe more, maybe less, whatever.
Don't they have to give a reason, what, in Portsmouth, for instance, what the override what it is they're not liking?
It's not a line item override.
It's just, they just reject the
They
budget
just
all out.
reject the budget as
This is
presented.
really interesting, and I almost mentioned this at our meeting last night, because I know for a fact that the school committee can move money around however it really pleases, no matter what they present on the budget, they get a block and they can move it around. I don't remember if that's a state law thing or not, I think it is, but interestingly, and we've been talking about this for, 2 decades or so, the town council, although I don't believe it's supported in the charter, has also asserted the same authority, with the exception of restricted accounts, as well. And so what I've observed is, if it was an alternative budget, whether it be from the budget committee or from a petitioner that attempts to make a case based on a line item, there is no obligation.
No.
The
You
council
see it all
blow-
the time.
They blow it off all the time.
They move from one department to another
Right.
department. This department
Right.
didn't use as much snow removal, but the
Right.
fire department needed more overtime.
Exactly.
I mean, they can move it,
So
they
so
move
it's
it all the
interesting that you
time.
raise that to have an override process where
And they have
they
to
just
be
say,
able
hey,
to.
we're the voters,
Yeah.
and,
So I don't
this is
think
the
it
levy
needs
we
to
want,
be
and you
one
figure it
line.
out,
Finish.
right?
Yeah,
I think it should just be the budget in its entirety. Maybe you could almost consider whether it's the school end of the budget or the municipal end of the budget that they, want.
But I will
override.
say that this whole conversation, which has been much of 2 nights, has been about timing. And as far as I can tell, the current process, a different process, in every scenario, we could run into a situation where we have the layoff notice
Mhm.
issue where, there's just no way to, you could do it all if you didn't have the budget adopted in February 1st, right? You'll always be working with estimates,
Theoretically.
so.
But I think this put added stress on it. We were able to get budgets together and timely and this has just put added stress on it.
Well, it didn't
What's-
help that we got had a huge cut in state aid the very first year we did it. I will give you that too. Or maybe it was the second year. Maybe it was the second year, actually.
Well, remember, the town has been, any voter could make a motion on the budget, as far as I know, since 1761 or whenever the town was founded. It was in Massachusetts a couple times, I'm not sure what happened then, but, so it might be perceived as a bit of a dramatic step to take that away.
So just to kind of summarize, if your the petitioner's budget versus an override is essentially the same, but in name difference.
Well, so technically the motion is just about the school, or the budget committee.
Right.
So we haven't really we've been talking about them, but there's no motion about whether or not we do something different with the petitioner's budget or with the calendar for that matter.
No, right, correct. So the motion that you're referring to, right, is true. If we give them return the authority to the budget committee, our next step is gonna have to look at the timeline. Whether we leave the petitioner's budget as it sits and just move that in the timeline.
Yeah.
Or it might not even, I don't think it's dated, it's just so many days after the adoption of the unified budget, you have the ability,
Frankly, we
300
haven't had
or
one in
301
years.
votes to put forward another
Right.
budget.
Yeah, the last one was I believe, cats.
it's the only one.
Yeah.
Oh, no,
that was
I
the only
think
one.
the petitioner's budget?
Yes.
Sanford
Sanford.
Mantell's.
Stanford Mantell
Yeah.
had one.
Well, it's different too, because
That was the last one that got adopted. There were
Mhm.
other attempts that didn't get onto the ballot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's
So
within
it's-
10, so right now it's section 302 that governs the elected budget. And it says within 10 days of the town council's passage of the unified budget as set forth, blah, 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 blah. Any qualified, so I think they have to, does it say when they have to submit it? I think that's the 10 days.
Yeah, they've got to get back no later than 10 business days after the council's passage of the unified budget.
I think, okay, what they have to do is they have to submit it to the town clerk, but then they get their 300 signatures after that. And that's
No later than 10 business days after the 10, they have 10 business days to get 300
after the town
signatures.
council's passage of the unified budget subject to 301B10. B10 was, so it's actually, that's weird. 301B10, so it's after the public hearing.
Right, which I think is really problematic.
It is, because
After.
if
So
they-
this is what I was thinking as I
Yeah.
was kind of coming up with the draft. If a petitioner, an elector who thinks that they're listening to the conversations, they think that they want to make an alternate budget proposal, after the first public hearing for the unified budget, they could then submit an alternate budget. And I think it could fit within the timeline of the meeting on May 1st, so that then you're not doing it after the fact and having to set up the referendum and having to, take care of all of that if it's within the process. And if it's presented at a public hearing, so the petitioner budgets, alternate budgets are presented at a public hearing, now the town council, if they're the final authority to vote on the budget, they will have heard the petitioner's budget.
But wait a minute,
As a
that's
petitioner, I
another
may not
option.
decide to do that until I've been to that public hearing. And maybe I don't like what I'm hearing, and that's why I'm gonna
I
propose a
thought we
different
had also
petition. So
discussed
it's
having
kind
a
of a
public
catch-22.
hearing before the unified, if
Yes, that's what I'm
if
thinking.
the budget
yes.
committee is now going to be the one doing this, it would be before the budget committee submits their proposed unified budget. You would have had a public hearing already,
Correct.
so people would understand what they're voting for.
That's what we had talked about,
Right.
more public meetings along the way, so a citizen could be listening to the conversation and say, absolutely not, I'm not gonna buy that brand-new fire truck, and I'm gonna petition that. They could do it within the budget process through a formal measure, as opposed to at the end, which creates so much chaos. So I don't know exactly how to frame that, but I think that makes more sense to try to do it that way, rather than have the opportunity for an override after the fact, which impacts everybody.
Well, the purpose of the public hearing, and correct me if I'm wrong, is both to inform the public about what the proposed budget contains. Does it also, is there also a part of it that people have a right after that public hearing to say, is there any way we can change this?
Well, it's public input, so, I mean, anybody can stand up and say what they want at a public hearing like that, so, but I mean, it does not mean that the authoritative body up there has to
That's my
accept
question.
it or agree
But
with it
do
or
they have to have a
anything.
discussion about it anyway?
But I
Can
mean,
I-
have public input at a public hearing.
I was gonna say, maybe we should circle back to the motion that we've been discussing. Do we want the town budget committee to have the authority to submit a unified budget forward that will go on the ballot, essentially is what we're saying. And we have a gentleman here who has a little bit of insight perhaps. What are your thoughts on that? How do you think that would be received?
By the council?
Mm-hmm.
I know that this was just changed, as you all know, that this was just changed. And it was changed overwhelmingly by the voters. For the council, given the current makeup of the council, and again, I'll say it, I do not speak for the council, but do I think that they are ready to advocate any authority that they might have, even in the best interest of the people? I can't say that for sure. That they will entertain a motion to reconstitute powers that the budget committee had after taking it away, essentially, and making them advisory, putting it on the ballot, the voters spoke, and I think it was 60-some%, if I remember correctly, saying that, no, we agree with that, and now putting it back in and doing it.
How many voters voted, do you remember?
I do not remember, Nancy.
It wasn't a huge
Hang on.
number.
I don't remember. That, again, if you're asking me my opinion, that is
Yeah.
my opinion.
Yes,
Um,
and I was.
Right, and that's it. I mean, and looking at some of the timelines, remember, and even I was just looking at this, the starting gun for the unified budget is the meeting that the council has with the school committee. And all of us know, those of us who have seen it, it lasts like a minute and a half. And I agree, that's something that, with some of the comments that have been made, I see no reason why we can't start that in October. You know, that's something that we should talk
It's
about
by
doing.
statute, isn't it?
It-
that it
it's
needs
in
to
the-
be
No, it's in the
January?
charter.
It's in the charter.
Oh, it's
I
just in the-
mean, because that
no,
is
it's in the
essentially the
state,
starting
too.
gun.
There's a statute too.
Yeah.
It's a statute too.
Is
That
it?
state said, yes.
Okay. I mean, I would want to see something that, I mean, even if we have to do it, maybe we can do that meeting, but we can start the unified process earlier. You know, and then meet in January do we have to meet by January 15th or on January 15th? So if it's by January 15th, I'd like to see that start sooner. And then that would kind of encompass some of the issues that we're having with the calendar as well. But getting back to your question, sure, sir, again, I can't speak for the council. Do I see them adopting something like that? I'm not sure.
Let me
Really,
ask
I
you
won't-
another way, what do you think of the proposal?
Do I think that? I think the reason why it was made the way it was, without just eliminating the budget committee in its entirety, was for transparency. You know, you want to have citizen involvement in the financial decisions that are made by the town. There's no question about that. And there has to be some level of, or some mechanism that we could do. There also has to be, whether you call it a referendum, a petitioner's budget, a recall, I mean, however we label it, there has to be some voice of the people that we build into the charter. So it's not, we're just like raising taxes, or like the example of, we're just gonna buy a fire truck and you can just have to live with it. There needs to be something that is in there. What that is, I don't know. Because I know that what we just did and what the voters just voted on the last time around was essentially stripping the budget committee with essentially all of their power. You know, other than making suggestions, which goes back to how we started this off. That's why people are not interested in running for it, knowing as soon as they get involved with it, saying, okay, they're going to, and it's a lot of work, those of us in the room who have served on that committee know how intense, labor intensive it is. And then dealing with changes in the council, changes with the town administrator, changes with the school committee. You're dealing with different people almost every time. So add that to the normal challenges that's going on. With all that being
One
said.
of the things
Yes,
that Dr. Larkin proposed in his motion was also sort of expanding the role of the budget committee to also both be able to focus on doing what they have to do and talking to the people in a financial language to figure out a budget, but also to have, be it more a year, the whole length of their term, where they also would do some financial planning, some financial advising. It's sort of an expanded role, which that does not happen in the town council.
No, it doesn't. But also, and I'll speak for it, not with my current job, but my former job, that 90% of the police department's budget was contractually obligated. So, I mean, of a $4.3 million budget, we ran the police department with like about $350,000. That's gas in the cars, bullets and guns, lights on. So, and I know with the school department, there are, and even with the municipal side, the majority of the budget are contractually obligated items that there is no wiggle room. My fear would be when we get individuals who don't understand that concept and they come in and they just want to slash things because they have, whether it's a pet project or whatever was said tonight, or they have an axe to grind, and then that puts the town, the school department, whatever, in a position that we're going to end up in court, or we're going to be going to court to seek guidance because a petition of budget just passed. They slashed the budget that we have a contractual obligation to fund police officers, firefighters, school teachers. We're gonna pay them, we don't have a choice. What happens then?
But that's a petitioner's budget, we're not talking about the
Budget.
you know, a
No,
budget.
I was just responding to
Well,
Nancy's issue.
arguably, the
If
budget
we
committee
put,
could do the same thing.
yeah,
Well,
a
I think
year,
as
a
could the
year-long
school committee, as
advisory
could, you know.
financial committee, like a year long. Because once we set the budget's set. But if we have individuals who are elected and they are advising in some financial capacity, which is what you asked, what is that role?
Well, I would assume they would understand that there, just what you said, there are some contractual obligations that are non-negotiable.
Right, but also during contracts expire. So, and I know from the town's perspective, we base the budget not on what the pay raises are contractually obligated. But right now, we're speaking with municipal employees. We normally put money aside in whether it be a council contingency or a restricted account for labor negotiations. So if that gets stripped, then that diminishes the town's ability to negotiate as well. And sometimes that happens mid-year, or we put money aside in anticipation of a police contract, a fire contract, a school teacher's contract expiring. So if there's an advisory committee and we're going to start negotiations, what impact or what role would they have in that?
They can't do that because it's contractually obligated. And I don't think that's what we're talking about. It's more that the process needs to happen sooner, and it needs to happen more insightfully year